Hello viewers and welcome to my new video. In today's video I would like to talk to you about something that's really important, and actually something that I haven't yet covered in some of my other videos where I'm, for example, talking about performing live. And this video is inspired by some of my own experiences whilst watching artists, whilst watching bands playing live. I have come across situations where I went to a gig and, for example, I was really looking forward to it, and the band was like, I don't know, maybe one of my favorite bands or that kind, or a band that I just really liked, and I was so looking forward to it, only then to arrive at the venue and be disappointed by the performance. And what I mean by that, it's not so much about how they played or that kind of thing, but also this is part of it, and I'm gonna get to that in a minute, but it's how they treated the audience, you know, and what I consider sort of to have like a lack of respect towards your audience. And so bear with me on this, so I'm just gonna get to that point, what I mean by it. When you are in a band or you do any type of work, for example, even if it's just your hobby, but you actually go out there and you want to give people what they kind of, I don't want to say what they want, but you want to give the best of yourself, right? So in any situation, so say if you were doing a job for someone else, or a job for yourself, or anything like that. For me, playing music is exactly the same. So if you are, say for example, going on tour, and then you have this massive privilege to be able to play all these towns and cities and these different venues, and and meet all these people, and your fans, for example, come to see you, you should be really grateful for the opportunity and actually treat it with a right degree of respect. Of course you are there to provide entertainment, and you are there to have fun and for people to have fun with you, and that's all good. But I'm just going to give you a couple of examples of what not to do, and what's probably really guaranteed to sort of put people off you. So one of these things is that when sort of being late, also that's the first kind of point. So for example, people are waiting for you, and I don't know, there's a certain time slot that has been advertised, for example, by the venue or by the gig promoter. So someone is expecting, I don't know, you are going to go on, say at 9 o'clock, and yet you don't, and people are waiting, and they've been there, for example, from, let's say, 7 o'clock in the evening, and they're waiting for you to come on stage, and you don't come on stage, say until like half an hour later, or even an hour later. I've seen those types of examples, and I think that's the first point, that you need to be there on time. You need to do things, if it's advertised in a certain way, if there's a bit of a schedule, you need to stick to that schedule. It's like you are in work, basically. That is your work. You have to go to that, on that stage and perform for people. So be there on time. That's really important. The second thing is, what I would say is, you need to be really well rehearsed, and I've covered that in some of my other videos. So you need to be able to play well as a unit. So put enough work in beforehand, before you actually go on stage, to be certain, to be satisfied that actually you are going to do your best. You're going to give your best to the audience. It's not just going to be a mediocre type of performance. So always be prepared, always be well rehearsed, as a band or as yourself. If it's just you performing by yourself, or if you perform with a band, the entire band should be really tight, and sort of get to that level with the rehearsals, where you can say, oh yeah, this sounds really good, we are ready, we can do it for people. The third thing that I would say is, consider what you're gonna be wearing on stage, and it depends. You could be looking kind of casually, or if you have a bit of a dress code or whatever as a band, show up in that kind of dress code and sort of be there like how people expect you to be. So I think that's really important as well. Another thing for me is about the use of substances Okay, so this is really important, either be it alcohol or drugs or a combination of both. So I don't recommend it, to be honest, before going on stage. I know that there are some people out there who feel more confident and they're gonna have a few drinks before going on stage and playing because it boosts, their or gives them like more courage or whatever, that kind of thing, that sort of maybe they think maybe they deals a little bit with the stage fright. But the problem is the more of that, of any substances you have, it is going to affect how you are performing. It is going to affect your reflexes. It is going to affect your responses. If you play an instrument, is how technically good you can be on that instrument. It's going to affect the way you behave on stage as well, and it shows. And if you do take certain types of substances and then go to play live, people will see that, and especially if you sort of start doing certain things that maybe they don't maybe look that great in terms of the performance side, I think it's worth considering. And it's also something else that people kind of see it. I understand the aspect of it. It's like a party and you want to create like a party for everybody, and I think that kind of work really well after you've performed. So effectively you've done your amazing set for people, everybody's like blown away because you've been so well rehearsed and you didn't spoil anything by getting too drunk or under the influence of drugs or whatever that might be. And when the time comes, we've finished the set, everybody's happy, people have had their feed kind of the energy that you produced on stage. And then after that, if you then want to either have some kind of like a meet and greet event, or the after party, what people often call, and then invite your fans or your audience to that, and or you can just simply want, after you've played, you just want to go and sort of mingle with people, you just want to have a few chats with people who actually came to your gig. That's great. Get a drink maybe at that time if that's what you want to do, and have a drink with them or whatever, but don't do it so like you're having a party before so it's effectively you say you're on tour and you're just like, oh whatever, let's just open like another beer, another glass of whiskey, whatever that might be, that kind of thing, and have another one. It's just like you are, I don't know, you've been drinking for a few hours prior to you going on stage, and at that moment when you come on stage, it just shows, because one, you are probably tired anyway from like traveling from the previous night, and then you've had stuff to drink, and then you look tired, you can't be at your best, you can't perform at your best level basically, and again it shows. Another thing, and this kind of goes together with being well rehearsed, but it's about creating a set list that is going to make sense in a way, because I know there's different opinions on this, and I'm sure that people will tell me in the comments what they think about this. But if you have released certain songs that you have been promoting as singles, for example, and they are kind of like your hits, and people are kind of drawn to them, and I don't know, maybe on your Spotify playlist or whatever that might be, you get the most listens against a certain song, or because it's actually very good and people like it, then play it. Make sure you actually play it live. It's always good to sort of throw in sort of new songs and introduce your audience to your new stuff, but do it gradually, but give them also what they kind of expect, because a lot of the time people will be paying for tickets, for example, to come and see you, and they will want to hear those songs that are familiar to them. They've really kind of, they've been maybe playing them on repeat at home, and they just want to come to see you live and perform that song. So why, if bands, I've seen that as well happen, where some bands haven't done that, and I was like, you haven't played that song or those two songs that are like your biggest hits, what is going on here? So I would advise any one of you, if you are performing live and you are putting a set list together, to definitely incorporate those your biggest or most well-known songs into your set. Another point about drinking and substance misuse or that kind of thing is that I've actually seen some some performances being absolutely ruined by bands because they've actually done that. They've, you know, they had, like I've just described, they've had the party, they did all these different things, went on stage and just basically didn't look professional. You could tell that they were sloppy with their playing, and it was like, and for example, because the singer was talking and you could slurred speech, you know, you can tell that someone's had too much to drink, and yeah, you just basically come out of that gig sort of disappointed, and you know, that might actually discourage you from buying tickets in the future and going to see that band ever again. Effectively, it all comes down to, you know, having that respect. Like I say, respect your audience. Think, what would you like to see? You know, when you go to a gig, when you go to see a band live, what do you expect from them, and sort of incorporate that into your own performance. You know, so you know, you have to have this. You have to be there. You have to be on time. You have to be well rehearsed. You have to be kind of at the level where you can be at your best. Give your best. Play the songs that sort of you've already sort of you've already introduced to people, and you want and they are familiar with. You know, make it like a great atmosphere. Engage with your audience on stage, that kind of thing, and you know, show them that you actually care, that you care about them, that you care about your music. Because also, you never know, not everybody who is at that gig knows you very well. They may have just heard a couple of songs and they've come to check you out. There might be some new people who are just there by accident because they've been taken by some friends or whatever, and you can actually sort of increase your fan base. Because if someone sees you and you are very good and you are very tight and you are well rehearsed and you do all these different things, they will be impressed by what you do effectively, and the chances are they will, you know, when they get home the next day or whatever, they will check you out. Maybe they will go on Spotify or another streaming platform, YouTube or whatever. They will start looking for you, and you know, oh, I want to hear more, what are they about, that kind of thing. And maybe, you know, they will become your follower or your fan and that kind of thing. So always keep that in mind when you are there and perform live and engage with people. Always have that respect, interact with people well, and yeah, be well prepared, do your best. Thanks very much for watching. This is it for today's video. Please also consider to become my patron, and I now have a Patreon page, so I'm gonna leave a link in the description to that as well, and I will see you in my next video.